Good morning, Acadiana. You're tuned in for Local News Live. It is July 1st. It's the first day of July right now. And you're again tuning in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with The Advocate, and brought to you in no small part, in fact, in large part, due to the generosity, I should say, of our volunteer readers. And we are fortunate this morning to be joined by Danon. Danon, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
How are you this morning?
I am doing wonderfully. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully as well, and I'm so glad you're here to help us out with the news. Thank you so much for doing that. And I'm going to let you take it away and go listen on Cypress Street. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning, everyone. It is July 1st. Can you believe we're starting the second half of 2020? I'm hoping it's a little better than our first half. Not that it was terrible, but as you know, difficult situations. Let's do the news. Acadiana area hospitalizations are nearing records. This is by Ben Myers. Coronavirus-related hospitalizations in Lafayette and surrounding parishes approached an all-time high Tuesday. The 124 inpatients reported Tuesday is one fewer than on April 10th, when the 7-parish Region 4 hit its peak for COVID-19 hospitalizations. Region 4, which covers most of Acadiana, recorded 214 new cases on Tuesday, more than any of the state's other 8 regions. Lafayette Parish, with 100 new cases, had more than any other parish. Tuesday was the second day in a row that Region 4 and Lafayette Parish led their respective categories. The region of about 600,000 people has now recorded 5,514 cases, with more than 40% of those coming in the past 2 weeks. While trends in Acadiana continue to be worrisome, state data reported on Tuesday did offer a potential bright spot. There were fewest cases than the previous Tuesday and more test results. That pushed down the 7-day case count and positive test rate. Prior to Tuesday, Region 4 and Lafayette Parish had each set weekly case count records for 3 days in a row, with positive test rates of more than 10% on each of those days. The state reported 1,014 more coronavirus cases Tuesday, along with 22 more deaths and 44 more hospitalizations. The number of test results returned Tuesday was the highest total in 11 days. 23,874 test results were reported. Louisiana began reopening for Phase 1 on May 15th and 16th, then moved to Phase 2 on June 5th. Governor John Bel Edwards announced Monday that the state, seeing an alarming increase in cases and hospitalizations, will remain in Phase 2 for 28 more days. Officials checks find few violations by Claire Taylor. Over the past 5 days, Lafayette police and fire officials visited 162 businesses for compliance with coronavirus safety orders, finding only 12 violations. That suggests a 93% compliance rate in Lafayette. All the violations involved at least one employee not wearing a mask. In each case, the employees complied with instructions to correct the infraction. According to Captain Monty Potier of the Lafayette Police Department, officers visited 30 businesses on June 25, finding 3 violations, 27 businesses on June 26, finding 1 violation, 32 businesses on June 27th, finding a single violation, 25 establishments on June 28th, finding 1 violation, and 32 businesses on June 30th, finding 3 violations. The fire department responded to 4 resident complaints June 22nd through the 30th, finding 3 violations at retail stores. Fire Prevention Bureau officials also conducted random checks on 12 bars and clubs, all of which were in compliance, and attempted to do random checks on 10 others that were closed. Jamie Angel, Chief Communications Officer with Lafayette Consolidated Government, released the names of 3 businesses where police officers found 1 employee each over the weekend who was not wearing a mask. This would be McDonald's at 4555 Johnston Street, Cupid Daiquiris at 600 Southeast Evangeline Thruway, and Burger King on Johnston. The fire department released on Tuesday the names of 3 businesses in violation: Great Harvest Bread on Calais Saloon, Champont's Grocery Store on Hyman Boulevard, and Shoe Station on Ambassador Caffrey. The police department said, Potier said, will not release the names of other businesses in violation. Asked why, Potier did not respond. Angel said it was the police department's decision. Fire Chief Robert Benoit said the department became more aggressive in conducting random compliance checks and enforcing the safety rules just before Governor John Bel Edwards announced the state would remain in phase 2 of reopening businesses. We were seeing a lot of activity with people not complying, he said, congregating in large crowds in certain areas. Employees and employers who come into direct contact with customers are required to wear masks that cover their nose and mouth. Although Benoit recommends customers also wear masks, neither the governor's nor the mayor-president's orders require it. Some businesses do require customers to wear masks. Wilson Savoy, an owner of Hideaway on Lee, said the restaurant and bar began requiring patrons to wear masks last weekend, even giving away hand-sewn masks to those who enter without a mask. To walk around, you have to have a mask on, Savoy said. Only a few customers refused to wear masks and walked out. To snag a pie at Central Pizza on Jefferson Street now requires a reservation. Owner John Peterson said the policy was put in place when the restaurant reopened after the governor shut down all restaurants in March. That's really allowed us to control the traffic in and out of the restaurant, Peterson said. That's avoided the situation of people piling up in the doorway. Patrons are not required to wear masks, he said, but we appreciate it when they do. Lou Guidry, manager of School Time on Pinhook Road, said all employees and customers are required to wear masks and only 6 families are allowed to enter the store at a time. She has 6 dressing rooms with 6 associates to assist families selecting school clothes. When a customer leaves the dressing room, it is disinfected and the clothes are put in timeout for 24 hours. If customers arrive without masks, the store provides them, Guidry said. Most people, if you ask them, complain a little, she said. Our comment is, we hate them too. Officer resigns just before hearing by Katie Gagliano. The Opelousas police officer accused of battering a Black man at an Opelousas General Health System emergency room in October has resigned, less than 24 hours before the police chief intended to recommend his termination for the excessive force incident. Sergeant Tyrone Andrepont, a 17-year veteran of the department, submitted his resignation to Opelousas Police Chief Martin McClendon, Mayor Julius Alcindor, and the city attorney via email at the end of business hours on Monday. The chief said hours earlier he had informed Andrepont of a planned Tuesday meeting to discuss an internal affairs investigation into his conduct. The internal affairs investigation concluded last week, and McClendon said he was planning to recommend Andrepont's termination. By resigning, Andrepont avoids those consequences. The chief said he's disappointed the case will not have a formal resolution before the city council. McClendon said the internal affairs findings will be included in Andrepont's file, and he intends to include a letter highlighting his planned recommendation to fire Andrepont because he was no longer, in my opinion, fit for duty and should not have been wearing the uniform. Andrepont's resignation will go before the Opelousas City Council for approval on July 14th. McClendon does not have the authority to hire, fire, or approve resignations. Andrepont, who is 49 years old, had been on paid administrative leave since November when state police launched an investigation into allegations Andrepont battered 18-year-old Jonah Coleman Jr. after Coleman was admitted to Opelousas General's South Hospital by family members on October 30th, unrelated to a criminal matter, Coleman's Dallas-based attorney Daryl K. Washington said. Descriptions of the battery included in a probable cause affidavit filed June 12th said Underpont struck Coleman in the face at least once, causing his head to snap backwards, and put his right arm around Jonah's neck in a chokehold, while Coleman was restrained in a hospital bed, among other acts of battery, the document said. McClendon said Tuesday he was issuing guidance to his officers banning the use of chokeholds. Department staff are also reviewing use of force policies to determine if other updates are needed and looking for areas where training can be improved. The chief said Underpont's actions are not reflective of the entire force, but they serve as a wake-up call about the importance of training, ensuring everyone's dignity in all police interactions, avoiding harm, and showing restraint. I've said to my officers and supervisors that the badge has been tarnished, and it's our obligation to polish it up and restore confidence that we are here to do a job and not abuse our authority. On June 9th, Underpont was arrested on 5 counts of malfeasance in office stemming from the battery and excessive force allegations. Although the state police investigation was completed in February, the criminal courts were delayed by the novel coronavirus pandemic, St. Landry Parish District Attorney Charles Craven said. Malfeasance in office is committed when a public officer or employee intentionally refuses or fails to perform their duty, intentionally performs their duty in an unlawful manner, or knowingly permits someone under their authority to do so, according to state law. Okay, July 4th plans altered in Acadiana by Megan Wyatt. Most people will be celebrating Independence Day in a more independent manner than usual as community spread of the coronavirus continues in Acadiana. The usual public events in Lafayette and the surrounding area have either been canceled or significantly altered to comply with COVID-19 guidelines from elected and public health officials. Here's a look at what's happening, what's canceled, and what's changed ahead of the 4th of July. Uncle Sam's Jam. Event organizers announced Monday that the 7th annual event, set to happen Friday at Park International, is canceled because of the recent spike. The downtown Lafayette event usually features live music, pop-up vendors, and large fireworks show. Social Entertainment, the event planning company, said the health and safety of the community was the top priority and the reason behind the cancellation. You can learn more at facebook.com/social entertainment. Youngsville's Independence Day celebration. The city's annual celebration will happen on a much smaller scale in a different location to allow for more social distancing and more viewing opportunities of a fireworks show. Youngsville's event usually draws thousands to Sugar Mill Pond for a day of family-friendly activities ahead of a large fireworks show. This year, however, the city will host a fireworks show at the Youngsville Sports Complex. Fireworks start at 9 p.m. Friday, and people are invited to park at the sports complex beginning at 7:30. People are invited to bring blankets or lawn chairs to watch the show outside, as long as people stay distanced from others outside their households. People are also encouraged to watch from their backyards, front porches, outside of local businesses, or via live video on the Youngsville Facebook page. And you can learn more about that by going to facebook.com/City of Youngsville. Broussard's 4th of July fireworks show. The 15th annual fireworks show in Broussard will still take place on July 4th, although the usual family-friendly festivities leading up to the display have been canceled. The Broussard Sports Complex at St. Julian Park is normally bustling with activities leading up to the fireworks show. This year, the park's amenities will be closed to the public, including the restroom facilities. The fireworks show happens at 9 p.m. Saturday, and people are invited to park at St. Julian Park to watch. All attendees are asked to remain in their vehicles to practice social distancing. The show will also be live streamed from the Broussard Chamber of Commerce's Facebook page, and you can go to facebook.com/Broussard-Chamber of Commerce. Erath 4th celebration. Although event organizers announced in May that the 84th annual celebration would be canceled, they announced last week they'll still have a fireworks show on July the 4th. Erath's celebration typically spans several days with a carnival, firefighter water wars, and fireworks displays. This year's event will be much simpler. Fireworks at 9 p.m. Saturday in downtown Erath. Attendees are asked to observe social distancing guidelines. From the Diocese of Lafayette Office of Communication, Bishop Douglas DeChattel of the Diocese of Lafayette has confirmed with Lafayette Mayor President Josh Guillory that churches are exempt from the updated COVID-19 guidelines now in effect in Lafayette Parish, which limit gatherings to 200 people and mandate the wearing of masks. All Catholic Church parishes in the diocese will continue to operate under the state of Louisiana Phase 2 reopening directives. Bishop DeChattel continues to strongly recommend that parishioners wear masks while attending Mass. Less coal usage, more solar may be key to LUS's future, by Claire Taylor. The future of Lafayette Utilities Systems Electrical Division probably will include eliminating the use of coal, adding solar power, and possibly utilizing the retired Doc Bonin plant again. Representatives of LUS and Burns and McDonnell, an engineering, construction, and consulting firm, presented during an online forum Tuesday the findings and recommendations of a nearly year-long review of LUS. The goal of the study is to produce an integrated resource plan to help city officials focus on short-term energy decisions to position LUS for long-term success, said Mike Borgstadt of Burns and McDonnell. The report suggests LUS should continue to include fuel sources such as natural gas in its energy production portfolio, but should utilize more low-cost renewable energy sources as well. The Rodemacher 2 coal-powered electrical and generating plant should be phased out by 2027, the study recommends, due to rising costs associated with meeting environmental regulations, as well as operating and maintenance cost. Retiring the plant would require concurrence from co-owners Cleco, and the Louisiana Energy Power Authority, environmental regulators, and others. Borgstad said the Rodemacher 2 plant could be converted to a natural gas-fueled plant to generate electricity, or it could be eliminated completely. Whether coal is eliminated or not, he said, the plant will have to comply with a coal combustion residue rule passed by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to better regulate ash on power plant sites. That cost could be $20 to $25 million. Rodemacher 2 is owned by Cleco and the Louisiana Energy and Power Authority, of which LUS is a member. If the Rodemacher plant is eliminated, the study suggests, LUS should consider a self-built simple cycle gas turbine. The study recommends LUS start engineering studies to determine whether its retired Doc Bonin plant can be repurposed for that use. Before making any decisions regarding long-term power, though, the study suggests city leaders consider power purchase agreements as an alternative to the self-build option. LUS currently purchases some of its electricity through the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator Group. The study recommends LUS add more renewable energy, particularly solar power, to its power purchases. Residents may comment on the report and recommendations at irpfeedback@lus.org. Recovery of hard rock bodies could begin soon by Jeff Adelson. Work to recover the bodies of 2 workers trapped inside the Hard Rock Hotel in New Orleans when it collapsed last October could begin as early as July 13th, city spokesman Bo Tidwell said in a media briefing on Tuesday. Demolition crews have finished taking down 3 buildings surrounding the partially collapsed hotel and are currently assembling cranes needed to work on the building itself, Tidwell said. Crews could begin working on the building itself by Monday. That will be the first step toward recovering the bodies of the workers. A 3rd worker was also killed in the collapse, but his remains were retrieved soon after the disaster. Budget okayed on last day by Sam Carlin. Louisiana lawmakers on Tuesday passed the state's $35 billion budget that seeks to halt pay raises for state employees, along with a flurry of other laws in the final hours of a month-long special session concerned partly with coronavirus recovery. The budget bill was one of 2 major outstanding issues headed into the final day of the session, along with the number 1 priority of business groups, changing the state's legal system to reduce auto insurance lawsuits, which proponents argued would lower auto rates. Lawmakers reached agreements on both issues in the hours before the legislature was required to adjourn at 6 p.m. The deal on the budget, which came a day before the new fiscal year begins, sets aside $60 million currently slated to fund pay raises for state workers. But it's up to the agencies and the State Civil Service Commission to decide whether to ultimately freeze the raises. If they choose not to, the agencies will see their budgets cut until October, when lawmakers might return the money if the budget picture warrants. Lawmakers have suggested they could return for another special session in October to either spend more federal coronavirus aid or make cuts if the budget situation worsens. Republican senators sought to freeze pay for state workers because they didn't want the state to hand out pay raises when businesses are suffering. Democrats pushed back, arguing the state shouldn't punish workers amid a pandemic and economic recession. But the state largely avoided serious budget controversies because of an influx of federal coronavirus aid. By the end of the special session, lawmakers had sent more than $900 million to plug holes in the state budget, up to $300 million to small businesses, more than $500 million to local governments, and $50 million to frontline workers. For the most part, we have essentially a standstill budget, said House Appropriations Committee Chairman Jerome Z. Zerang, a Republican from Houma. Our federal partners came to the rescue to some degree, Senate President Paige Cortez, a Republican from Lafayette, said in a news conference after the session ended. Republican leaders at the news conference touted their moves to hold back some money, including the $60 million headed for pay raises, in case the financial picture worsens in the coming months. In his own news conference, Edwards largely expressed support for the way the session turned out, though he said he was disappointed in the legislature's attempted freeze on pay raise. He said he thought the session lived up to its billing as aimed at coronavirus recovery, with lawmakers sending money to governments and businesses and a small amount for workers. He also said negotiations with Republican legislative leaders, who have presented a more unified front than any House Speaker and Senate President in years, have gone well. In many ways, it can actually be easier. So rather than everything being in a triangular negotiation, it can be bilateral, Edwards said, adding he will sign a bill passed by the legislature on tort reform, a key priority of business groups. The most significant moves made during the session came from Republicans and the business executives who set their agenda. The GOP-led legislature passed a slew of tax breaks for businesses that will cost nearly $25 million in the fiscal year that starts Wednesday. Over the next 5 years, when including some extensions of existing tax breaks, the measures will cost the state about $227 million. Republicans say the tax relief, along with a $300 million grant program for businesses they stood up, will help prop up companies amid a pandemic that has roiled the economy. Lawmakers and business groups have argued the proposals won't ultimately cost as much as fiscal analysts say because of the economic activity they will generate. Legislative analysts say it's hard to say exactly what the impact of many of the measures will be on the state budget. Democrats, who are dramatically outnumbered in the legislature but have one of their own in the governor's mansion, push back on some of the tax breaks and other business-backed measures to little avail. They have cast the session as a bonanza for business lobbyists who scored some longtime priorities, while saying it did little for workers. One exception is a bill that passed in the final days of session, pushed by House Democrats, to send $250 checks to up to 200,000 frontline workers who make less than $50,000 a year. However, the $25 million cost of the tax breaks are estimated to have in the upcoming fiscal year is far less than the total amount that was introduced. Lawmakers sidelined some bills and pared back others to trim the cost and are paying for the tax breaks with unclaimed property receipts that became available in the final weeks of session. Edwards said his office is unclear on how much the tax breaks will affect the budget given last-minute changes. He said although he is concerned about their impact on the budget in the coming years, he would not say whether he will sign or veto any of the bills. Lawmakers arrived in Baton Rouge for the regular session on March 9th, but in the minutes before Edwards was set to kick off the session with his State of the State speech in the House chamber, health officials confirmed the state's first case of the novel coronavirus. By mid-March, the legislature had adjourned over coronavirus concerns and didn't return for good until May. Republican legislative leaders took the unlikely step of calling themselves into a special session immediately after the regular session ended June 1st without coordinating with the governor, a show of legislative unity rarely seen in the state capitol. That came even after House Speaker Clay Schexnayder, a Gonzales Republican, won the speakership because Edwards helped line up the House Democratic Caucus to vote for him. House Democratic Caucus Chairman Sam Jenkins of Shreveport said Monday there were some disappointments with the caucus's level of input under Schexnayder. We're very much concerned about committee makeups, Jenkins said, referring to the partisan split on the panels that can decide a bill's fate. Republicans won historic majorities in last fall's elections, including a supermajority in the state Senate and a near supermajority in the House, theoretically putting the GOP in a position to override Edwards' vetoes. That didn't happen, and instead Republicans and Edwards came to the table on things like the Tort Reform legislation to hash out deals, with both sides unsure if they would win a veto override fight. For instance, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Stuart Bishop, a Republican from Lafayette, successfully took millions of dollars that Edwards wanted to use on construction projects and funneled them away into the state's savings account. And in that construction budget, where governors historically have flexed their power by striking out projects from the districts of their political enemies, Edwards signed it without any such line item vetoes. Okay. Camp Unique, Dreams Foundation. Every summer, the Dreams Foundation of Acadiana hosts the greatest camp of all, Camp Unique. Camp Unique is suited for individuals with special needs. Camp Unique will be held July 13th through the 17th for ages 5 through 13 and July 20 through 24 for ages 14 and up. The fee will be $75, and the theme this year is Peace and Love. All Camp Unique sessions will be held at Lark's Acadian Village. Individuals of all ages have a blast participating at a camp that is specifically tailored to them. They get the opportunity to take part in activities such as art, fitness, karaoke, music and dance, as well as getting a Camp Unique t-shirt and a snack every day. A highlight of Camp Unique this year will be the storytelling session by Chief Greyhawk Perkins, commented Dreams Foundation Executive Director Danielle Watkins. As a recognized expert on Native American and American colonial history, Perkins has inspired many audiences over the years, sharing tales of ancient cultures as a tribal storyteller and as a teacher of various subjects in Louisiana's school system. The registration form for Camp Unique can be found on the Dreams Foundation Acadiana website. That would be www.dreamsfoundationaca.org. Volunteers are also being sought at this time. If you are interested in volunteering, please complete the application on the Dreams website under the Volunteer tab. For more information about Camp Unique, contact Danielle Watkins via email at danielle@dreamsfoundationaca.org or phone 337-962-1609. A ban on virus suits against schools passes by Will Centel. Despite last-minute objections from state education leaders, the Louisiana legislature narrowly approved a bill Tuesday that would ban most lawsuits against school districts and colleges over coronavirus claims. After a lengthy discussion, the House approved a compromise version of the bill, 54-40, one over the minimum required. Moments later, and just moments before the special session ended, the Senate endorsed the plan, sending the measure to Governor John Bel Edwards. The key feature of the plan, House Bill 59, is a ban on most lawsuits against public and private schools and colleges by students, teachers, and other school employees who claim they contracted the virus because of lax school procedures. Freshman State Representative Buddy Mincy Jr., a Republican from Denham Springs, and the chief sponsor of the bill, said local leaders need liability protection to feel comfortable about reopening classrooms in August. Without some legal protection, Mincy told the House, the 2020-2021 school year would consist of remote learning for many districts. But a change launched in the Senate sparked pushback and behind-the-scenes arguments Tuesday from leaders of the State Department of Education and the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. A Senate amendment requires both BESI and college governing boards, including the LSU Board of Supervisors, to spell out minimum safety standards schools and colleges have to follow for the upcoming school year. In addition, those benchmarks have to be informed by guidelines spelled out by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, a softening of earlier Senate language that the rules in Louisiana would have to conform to CDC standards. House Education Committee Chairman Ray Garofalo, a Republican from Chalmette, said attorneys for the department, BESI, and the LSU board said their panels would be subject to lawsuits if schools failed to carry out the policies, and that the state would need 500 new employees to enforce safety standards for returning students. Garofalo said a district that totally innocently fails to follow a BESI-mandated safety guideline could make the policy-making board without enforcement powers subject to a lawsuit. Mincy, a 13-year veteran of the Livingston Parish School Board, told the House that the issue caused a little bit of turmoil today. Asked by Garofalo if the bill would put BESI and other state boards at risk of litigation, Mincy said, "I guess that would be up to the esteemed lawyers like yourself. I guess the potential is there." Mincy said local educators are simply looking for state guidance in reopening schools, which he said BESI can provide in addition to recommendations released last week by the State Department of Education. Under the bill, lawsuits would only be allowed if plaintiffs could show that school districts displayed gross negligence during the health emergency. The bill requires the state board to settle on emergency rules by July 15th, which may spark a special meeting of the 11-member panel. Supreme Court rulings should change vouchers aid in Louisiana. by Will Sintel. A U.S. Supreme Court ruling Tuesday should change the way Louisiana provides aid for students from low-income families to attend private schools, the president of the state's top voucher advocacy group said. This is a game changer, said Ann Duplessis, president of the Louisiana Federation for Children and a member of the group's national board. The nation's top court in a Montana case ruled 5-4 that it is unconstitutional to ban state aid to parochial schools. The panel concluded that such bans run afoul of the First Amendment. The issue has been a controversial topic in Louisiana, which provides state aid for students from low-income families attending troubled public schools to attend private or parochial schools. The assistance is called vouchers. About 6,500 children get the aid, which stems from a 2012 state law pushed by then-Governor Bobby Jindal. The 2012 law required vouchers to be financed through the same fund that pays for public school operations, the Minimum Foundation Program. Teachers' unions and others challenged the 2012 law, and the state Supreme Court ruled 6-1 in 2013 that it was unconstitutional for the state to use the public school fund dollars to finance tuition at private and parochial schools. The annual aid, which is about $43 million, is now done as a separate item in the state operating budget. Duplessis, a former state senator from New Orleans, said the U.S. Supreme Court ruling could make the annual aid more reliable by putting it back in the public school fund. This is an absolutely wonderful decision for families, for educators, for the schools who want some assurance they are not going to be subject to the whims of the legislature, she said. Heather Cushman, a spokeswoman for the Louisiana Federation of Teachers, one of the state's two teachers' unions, disagreed. Louisiana permits religious schools to partake in our scholarship and voucher programs at the same level as secular schools, Cushman said in an email. There is nothing in the decision that would indicate that the state has to give more money to voucher programs or raid the MFP to fund private schools. Backers contend vouchers give students trapped in failing public schools a way out. Teacher unions and others have long argued that the state aid, whatever the source, robs public schools of badly needed state dollars. They also noted that some studies have questioned the effectiveness of vouchers, including a 2017 report by the Education Research Alliance in New Orleans that says voucher students fail to stand out from public school students in math and English. Edwards to sign bill aimed at lowering auto insurance rates. This is by Mark Ballard. After much negotiation and toil, the Louisiana legislature finally approved on Tuesday legislation that changes how Louisiana courts operate in hopes that it will bring down auto insurance rates. The bill received final legislative approval and was sent to Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards, who said he will sign it into law. The governor will sign the bill, said Matthew Block, Edwards' top lawyer. There was a lot of hard work put into getting a bill that is a compromise, unlike the bill approved during the last session. There's still a lot of work to do to see if the promises behind it pay out, that the reductions will happen. Over the past 2 years and through the 2019 campaigns, business and insurance interests pushed what they called tort reform, sweeping technical changes to evidence and procedure laws that would reduce the number of injury court cases that they claim is behind Louisiana's perennially high cost of auto insurance needed to drive. Last year's most important bill became this year's after failing in 2019. Many legislators came to Baton Rouge with the sole purpose of passing tort reform, and the debate dominated back-to-back sessions that were supposed to be about recovering from the coronavirus and balancing the state's operating budgets. Legislators got close at the end of the regular session on June 1st, passing a bill that turned out to have a fatal flaw mistakenly included. The measure was ultimately vetoed. Then on Monday night, almost After almost a week of negotiation, the Senate gave its final approval to House Bill 57, which sponsor House Speaker Clay Schexnayder called the Civil Justice Reform Act of 2020. But moments before the House was to vote on sending HB 57 to the governor, improper wording was discovered, requiring a quick fix. Repairs were made, but a new section also was added. It was a situation where we had a piece of language in there that didn't really fit, and it gave us an opportunity to go back and look at it, Schexnayder said. When we did, we came up with new language that worked for both sides and the governor. The legislation, now carrying a new section, was brought back up Tuesday afternoon, approved by the House, then rushed to the Senate for its approval too. Business and insurance interests and their mostly Republican supporters contend that Louisiana's number of wrecks and injuries are in line with the rest of the country, but the way Louisiana courts handle lawsuits contributes to the high number of injured people going to court seeking resolution. They supported sweeping changes to technical evidence and procedural laws that would reduce the number of court cases and limit the awards of people who seek compensation for injuries caused by someone else. Lawyers, judges, and healthcare providers and their mostly Democratic allies who oppose sweeping tort reform counter that the changes would make court cases so difficult that injured people will be more likely to accept insurance companies' offers because going to court would become so difficult. Both sides agree that the prices of auto insurance policies are too high, and in the end, they agreed on some changes to the way civil trials will be conducted starting on January 1st. Essentially, the legislation makes some, but not all, of the changes sought by business insurance interest. Change in bill exempts Schroeder from, I lost my place here. There we go. Change in bill exempts Schroeder from grant rules by Tyler Bridges. A change shrouded in secrecy will exempt State Treasurer John Schroeder from key rules governing how he can disperse a huge pot of federal money to small businesses. The change for the $300 million program was included Monday in an amendment to spending bill sponsored by State Senator Bodie White, a Republican from Central. The amendment would exempt Schroeder from procurement rules and regulations regarding the program to distribute the federal money to help small businesses remain afloat during the coronavirus pandemic. White did not mention the change when he told senators about the various amendments added to House Bill 9, known as the Funds Bill. It transfers state dollars into special funds created by the legislature for specific spending programs. This year's funds bill also creates 3 funds to spend federal dollars sent to Louisiana under the coronavirus relief package, known as the CARES Act, passed by Congress. Asked Tuesday for the reason behind the change, White said, "I think it was a time thing. I'd have to go back and look at my notes." Senate President Paige Cortez, a Republican from Lafayette, said he was unfamiliar with the change. Michelle Milholland, a spokeswoman for Schroeder, said in an email that the change simply gives the Treasurer's Office flexibility and clarity in awarding contracts for the Main Street Recovery Program. In order, for example, to ensure that the Treasury's Office isn't limited in the type of contract that can be awarded, the amendment was needed. The goal is to expedite the distribution of funds to eligible businesses to cover eligible expenses. Vitalant begins testing all blood donations for antibodies to COVID-19. Vitalant became the first national blood bank to test all blood donations for antibodies to SARS-CoV-2, the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. The nation's largest independent nonprofit blood collector, serving hospital patients in South Louisiana, is providing the test results to donors who complete successful blood donations, which are critically needed now. The antibody test, authorized by the Food and Drug Administration, will indicate if the donor's immune system has produced antibodies to the virus, regardless of whether they ever showed symptoms. It is possible that over time, the broad use of antibody tests and clinical follow-up will provide the medical community with more information on whether a person who has recovered from COVID-19 is at a lower risk of infection, and if so, for how long. For more information, visit vitalant.org/COVID-free. Donors are urged to give blood as soon as possible, and appointments are strongly recommended. Please visit vitalant.org, vitalant.org, or call 877-258-4825. So our deaths, we have a few funerals for today. In the Acadiana area, the funerals are as follow. In the Acadiana area, Harriet Labie at the Delhome Chapel of the Flowers at 2 p.m. Austin Morgan, Ebenezer Church at the Nazarene at 11 a.m. Robin Watson, David Funeral Chapel of Abbeville at 3 p.m. Gil Weimer, 11 a.m. in La Chapelle de Martin and Castile in Lafayette. Today in history. Today is Wednesday, July the 1st, 2020. There are 183 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on July 1st, 1863, the pivotal three-day Civil War Battle of Gettysburg, resulting in a Union victory, began in Pennsylvania. On this date, in 1867, Canada became a self-governing dominion of Great Britain as the British North America Act took effect. In 1912, aviator Harriet Quimby, In 1912, 37-year-old aviator Harriet Quimby was killed along with her passenger William Willard when they were thrown out of Quimby's monoplane at the third annual Boston Aviation Meet. In 1944, delegates from 44 countries began meeting at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, where they agreed to establish the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. In 1946, the United States exploded a 20-kiloton atomic bomb near Bikini Atoll in the Pacific. In 1966, the Medicare federal insurance program went into effect. In 1991, President George H.W. Bush nominated Federal Appeals Court Judge Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court, beginning an ultimately successful confirmation process marked by allegations of sexual harassment. In 1997, Hong Kong reverted to Chinese rule after 156 years as a British colony. In 2002, the world's first permanent war crimes tribunal, the International Criminal Court, came into existence. In 2004, actor Marlon Brando died in Los Angeles at the age of 80. 10 years ago, California lawmakers approved a $20 million settlement with the family of J.C. Duggard, who was kidnapped as a girl and held captive in a secret backyard for 18 years by a paroled sex offender. 5 years ago, after more than a half century of hostility, the United States and Cuba declared they would reopen embassies in each other's capitals, marking a historic full restoration of diplomatic relations between the Cold War foes. 1 year ago, hundreds of protesters swarmed into Hong Kong's legislature, defacing portraits of lawmakers and spray painting pro-democracy slogans in the chamber before vacating it as riot police cleared surrounding streets with tear gas. The three-hour occupation came on the 22nd anniversary of the former British colony's return to China. Today's birthdays. Actress Olivia de Havilland is 104. Wow. Actress dancer Leslie Caron is 89. Actor Jamie Farr is 86. Cookie maker Wallace Amos is 84. Dancer choreographer Twyla Tharp is 79. Deborah Harry is 75. Actor Terrence Mann is 69. Rock singer Fred Schneider of the B-52s is 69. Pop singer Victor Willis of the Village People is 69. Actor comedian Dan Aykroyd is 68. Olympic gold medal track star Carl Lewis is 59. Country singer Michelle Wright is 59. Actress Pamela Anderson is 53. Actress Julianne Nicholson is 49. Actress Liv Tyler is 43. And that's all I got for those. Happy birthday, Olivia de Havilland. That's absolutely amazing. All right, let's get ready for the horoscopes, one of my favorite parts of the day. So here's our zodiac for July 1st. Cancer. You'll have plenty of ideas regarding how to get ahead during dire times. Explore the possibilities and find out what it will take to reach your goal. Trust in your ability to excel. Leo. Plan to do something physical. If you let your emotions take charge, you'll face setbacks. Discipline, strategy, and brute force will get you the results you desire. Romance is favored. Virgo. A demonstrative approach will ensure that everyone knows what you think and how you feel. Follow your own suggestions, even if others do not. Live by your rules. Libra. Stop procrastinating and start doing something that will make a difference. Your happiness is up to you, so take action and do whatever it takes to improve your life. Scorpio, be resourceful, disciplined, and innovative. Use your power of persuasion to influence others to do what's right. A show of confidence will make it easier to get your way. Sagittarius, do what's right. If you want things done correctly, do them yourself. Personal improvement will encourage you to take better care of yourself. Capricorn, disappointment will surface if you count on others to pitch in and help. If you want things to change, you should implement plans that you can carry out on your own. Aquarius, don't get discouraged. Consider what will make you feel good and then pursue it. Self-improvement and personal challenges build your confidence and encourage new beginnings. Romance is on the rise. Pisces, you will be in a prime professional position. A couple of changes will help you put a safe and profitable plan in place. Aries, stay calm, focus on your responsibilities, and do your best to avoid conflict. A disciplined approach to health, money, and getting along with others will pay off. Taurus, be open to suggestions, but do what works best for you. Your memory and intelligence won't let you down. Discuss your plans with a loved one. Gemini, pay more attention to how you feel, look, and respond to others. Get your priorities straight and put more time and effort into changes you can make to improve your life. Please remember that the horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based on scientific fact. Let's see how we're doing. We got a couple more minutes. Okay. AOC teams up with United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United programs air weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2 Cox 16/LUS 4 and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedules and to submit content for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana, unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn. I messed that up. Let me try it again. unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding this public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7, and all calls are confidential. So call 866-310-7977. Once again, if you're feeling anxious, if you have any issues, you just need to talk to someone, please don't hesitate to reach out to these wonderful people. So call 866-310-7977. That's all the news I have for you today. It is July 1st. As your regular reader says, Bruce, be kind to each other, but most importantly, wear a mask. It takes nothing for a few minutes to go into a place and wear a mask and help support the safety of all of us, especially those workers in those stores. I'm going to turn this back over to Matt, and I hope to talk with you guys on next Wednesday.
Thanks again so much to Nan for reading the news this morning. Thanks to all of you who tuned in. Have a great morning, and we'll see you tomorrow.